In last week's video, we compared this vintage 1960s 20-inch Zildjian A ride that I got for $250 from Hawthorne Drum Shop against the cheapest ride cymbal that we could get off of Amazon for $42, which claimed to have melodious tinkle sound when you hit the cymbal top. Well, today we're comparing that vintage ride cymbal to a modern equivalent and contender, the Istanbul Agop traditional jazz ride. And we're going to be comparing both the 22-inch version and the 20-inch version to this vintage ride cymbal so we can really see what the characteristics are of each one. And the cymbal's too big for me to hold and I can't figure out, I'm too small. There we go. There's only one way to find out, and that's to hit the like and subscribe button, or else you're not going to be able to hear the differences in the cymbals, and trust me, you're going to want to hear these. As mentioned in my previous video, this is a 1960s Zildjian ride. It's a 20-inch cymbal, is hand-hammered, made of a B20 alloy, and weighs 2,124 grams. This specific cymbal weighs a little on the heavier side for a 20-inch cymbal for my personal playing and taste, but is a great cymbal with a lot of great characteristics, and that fits into a lot of different musical situations. Definitely has that sort of vintage era tone quality to it, which is exactly the vibe that you might be looking for when you're playing some jazz music. On the other hand, here we have the 22-inch Istanbul Agop traditional jazz ride. Now, the Istanbul traditional jazz ride is one that we
interrupt this programming to bring you a quick cymbal history lesson. Istanbul Agop is a company that was started by a man named Agop Tomachuk, who had been working as a cymbal apprentice since he was 9 years old. Want to guess where he worked? That's right, the only cymbal factory in Turkey, where the old Zildjian K cymbals were made before they moved to the United States in the 1930s. He eventually became the chief cymbalsmith at that factory until they stopped producing Zildjian cymbals in 1977. After they closed down, he decided to start his own company in 1980 with the aim of producing the only Turkish handmade cymbals on the market. Legend has it that one of the Istanbul Agop cymbal models is based off the original recipe for the original Zildjian K ride cymbal. Is that true? The world may never know.
I'm not very evil, if you can't tell by the poor execution of an evil laugh. Now, if you haven't already seen my video where I review this cymbal, you should go check that out after this video, as I talk about it in depth and give it a full review. But for a quick rundown, this is a 22-inch ride cymbal. It's hand-hammered, made of a B20 alloy, and weighs, I think 2,100 grams. So right at the same weight as the vintage Zildjian ride cymbal. I'll play the 20-inch version of this cymbal as well, which is about 1,700 grams, to give you a direct size comparison to the vintage ride cymbal. But due to the weight differences, they'll have a pretty distinct sound difference as well, which you're going to hear soon. So here's a rundown of what I think about each of these cymbals. The vintage ride has that unique vintage tone to it that you expect out of an older Zildjian cymbal. Because of it being a little bit heavier, it's a little louder than the other cymbals, but has a great tone and pitch to it, while still being complex enough to create a decent amount of overtones and fill out in a nice way. It has a great attack, great sustain, and overall is a great cymbal. The 22-inch ride has a lot of similarities to the vintage ride in my opinion, but because of it being around the same weight but 2 inches bigger, it obviously has a thinner sound, is a more complex tone, and is sort of the combination of all those things that for me makes it an almost perfect cymbal. I might be slightly biased just because of how much I've played this cymbal and my affinity for it and how I've learned how to play that cymbal so well over the past 2.5 years or so. But I stand by my statement of it being a fantastic cymbal that probably, in my opinion, for a lot of contexts, I would choose over the vintage cymbal. The 20-inch traditional jazz ride is pretty different than the 20-inch vintage ride. Again, the main reason I think is two things. One, actually, that the weight is so different, and the second is because the vintage ride cymbal has a pretty pronounced bell, where the 20-inch traditional jazz ride is not quite as deep and doesn't create that same sort of tone, and again, the weight is another huge part of that. Because of all those things, that cymbal in particular as a ride cymbal is a little too light and starts to wash out just a little too quickly for my personal playing. But its downfalls as a ride cymbal are strengths as a crash. That cymbal is sweet butter when you're using it as a crash cymbal. The main reason I got it was actually to be used as a crash cymbal after watching some videos of a few people, including Dan Bailey, playing it as a crash cymbal. Overall, it's a great cymbal, a little too thin for a consistent ride cymbal, but is different than the 22 in a good way, is different than the vintage ride in a good way also, and where it doesn't shine in the ride department, it does in the crash world. Well, that's all for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this cymbal comparison video. Before you go, if you're a drummer who's looking to dive into learning how to play jazz music, download my free PDF guide in the video description and get started on your journey to being a better drummer. If you're already down with the basics, you've got a decent understanding, check out my guide on comping to get your snare drum and kick drum together to really level up your jazz drumming to the next level. Stay tuned for a video next week where I will do my best to make you a better drummer. Okay, see you, bye.